Welcome to the appendix, where we read the primary sources of the past so the present can be better understood. Today's primary source, Chancellor Kent on universal suffrage. Remarks of Chancellor Kent to the New York Constitutional Convention of 1821. The second decade of the 19th century witnessed a liberalizing of the Constitution of the seaboard states, resulting in the part from the democratic influence of the new western states. The proposal to abolish the property qualification for suffrage in New York State aroused intense opposition from the conservatives, which was eloquently voiced by Chief Justice Ambrose Spencer and Chancellor James Kent. Despite this opposition, the liberals carried the day. Chancellor Kent. These are some of the fruits of our present government, and yet we seem to be dissatisfied with our present condition, and we are engaged in the bold and hazardous experiment of remodeling the Constitution. It is not fit and discreet. I speak as to wise men. Is it not fit and proper that we should pause in our career and reflect well on the immensity of the innovation and contemplation? Discontent in the midst of so much prosperity and with such abundant means of happiness looks like ingratitude, and as if we were disposed to arraign the goodness of Providence. Do we not expose ourselves to the danger of being deprived of the blessings we have enjoyed? The Senate has hitherto been elected by the farmers of the state, by the free and independent lords of their soil, worth at least $250 in freehold estate, over and above all debts charged thereon. The governor has been chosen by the same electors, and we have hitherto elected citizens of elevated rank and character. Our assembly has been chosen by freeholders possessing a freehold of the value of $50, or by persons renting a tenement of the yearly value of $5, and who have been rated and actually paid taxes to the state. By the report before us, we propose to annihilate at one stroke all those property distinctions, and to bow before the idol of universal suffrage. That extreme democratic principle, when applied to the legislative and executive departments of the government, has been regarded with terror by the wise men of every age, because in every European republic, ancient and modern, in which it has been tried, it has terminated disastrously and been productive of corruption, injustice, violence, and tyranny. And dare we flatter ourselves that we are a particular people who can run the career of history exempted from the passions which have disturbed and corrupted the rest of mankind? If we are like other races of men with similar follies and vices. Now, sir, I wish to preserve our Senate as the representative of the landed interest. I wish those who have interest in the soil to retain the exclusive possession of a branch in the legislature, as a stronghold in which they may find safety through all the vicissitudes which the state may be destined, in the course of Providence, to experience. I wish them to be always enabled to say that their freeholds cannot be taxed without their consent. The men of no property, together with the crowds of dependents connected with great manufacturing and commercial establishment, and the motley and undefinable population of crowded ports, may perhaps at some future day, under skillful management, predominate in the assembly, and yet we should be perfectly safe if no laws could pass without the free consent of the owners of the soil. That security we at present enjoy, and it is that security which I wish to retain. The apprehended danger from the experiment of universal suffrage applied to the whole legislative department is no dream of the imagination. It is too mighty an excitement for the moral constitution of men to endure. The tendency of universal suffrage is to jeopardize the rights of property and the principles of liberty. There is a constant tendency in human society, and the history of every age proves it. There is a tendency in the poor to covet a share in the plunder of the rich, in the debtor to relax or avoid the obligation of contracts, in the majority to tyrannize over the minority and trample down their rights, in the indolent and profligate to cast the whole burthens of society upon the industrious and the virtuous, and there is a tendency in ambitious and wicked men to inflame these combustible materials. It requires a vigilant government and a firm administration of justice to counteract that tendency. Thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not steal, are divine injunctions induced by this miserable depravity of our nature. Who can undertake to calculate with any precision how many millions of people this great state will contain in the course of this and the next century? And who can estimate the future extent and magnitude of our commercial ports? The disproportion between the men of property and the men of no property will be in every society in a ratio to its commerce, wealth, and population. We are no longer to remain plain and simple republics of farmers like the New England colonists or the Dutch settlements on the Hudson. We are fast becoming a great nation with great commerce, manufacturers, population, wealth, luxury, and with the vices and miseries that they engender. 1/7 of the population of the city of Paris at this day subsists on charity, and 1/3 of its inhabitants of that city die in the hospitals. What would become of such a city with universal suffrage? France has upward of 4, and England upwards of 5 millions of manufacturing and commercial laborers without property. Could these kingdoms sustain the weight of universal suffrage? The radicals in England, with the force of that mighty engine, would at once sweep away from the property, the laws, and the liberties of that island like a deluge. The growth of the city of New York is enough to startle and awaken those who are proposing this ignis fatuus of universal suffrage. Thank you for joining us for our primary source today on the appendix. We will see you in the stacks.